Hello, my name is Shaya Ostrov, and I welcome you to Soulfulness, learning to live a soul-centered way of life. I created this program because so many individuals struggle throughout their lives deprived of its true richness, its beauty, its simcha and fulfillment. Instead, they struggle with worried thoughts and anxieties, sometimes sadness and loneliness, and so many other painful ways of thinking and feeling and acting that affects how they feel about themselves, it affects their shalom bayis, and all the important relationships in their lives, whether with their children, with parents, people who are single and dating, people who are engaged, and even your relationship with Hashem, whether you're a young adolescent or a young adult, or even someone in their senior years. We all struggle with these issues. And in this program, you will learn to experience a gentle power that Hashem has placed within each of us. It's a gentle and beautiful part of Himself, Kaviyachol, that we carry within us from birth and will live within us eternally. It's a loving force that guides and animates us, has the power to heal and bring comfort and calmness to all of our thoughts, our fears, our anxieties, and enables us to create wonderful relationships with every important individual in our lives. I have created this program to serve as an approach and a way of life that enhances our emotional and relational well-being, and that emerges, that grows from learning to cultivate a state of mind based on a deeper connection with your truer, deeper selves, which we call neshama, soul, which Chazal teaches us is the true path to inner peace, to shalom bayis, and to emotional maturity. So whether you're single or married or a parent or adolescent, any stage in life, you will discover the power and fulfillment of a neshama-centered perception of life. This is the goal of soulfulness. Soulfulness is climbing a ladder. Yaakov Avinu dreamed of a ladder that begins on the ground and extends into the heavens. His dream is a mashal of a metaphor of our lives. We each experience struggles here on the ground of our physical lives and in the world we live in. But the true answers for all of our life's challenges reside in that part of us that reaches into the very heart of the heavens, directly connected to Hashem. For it is within us, within neshama, where our true existence, the ultimate beauty and simcha of life, can be experienced. That's the reason I call this program Soulfulness. It's a program that teaches how to create a soul-centered way of living. In this program, you will learn and discover that regardless of your past or present struggles, whether in your thoughts or your feelings or your behavior or your relationships, Hashem has endowed you with the ability and kochos to achieve your most precious personal goals, ba'olam hazeh and ba'olam haba. To begin the program, I want to start with a fable. They are created which I believe gives the essence of what we're trying to teach. There was once a shepherd boy who had a beautiful voice, and when he would take his flock out to pasture, he would sing. He would sing to the mountains. He would sing to Hashem. He would sing throughout the entire day. And one day, the king's servants were walking through the fields, and they heard this beautiful voice, and they listened, and they said, "This voice is fit for a king." So they took this young man, and they brought him to the king, and he sang in front of the king. And the king loved his songs. His songs were transforming. They were filled with beauty and heart and soul. And every morning they would come to his door, and they would knock on his door, and they would escort him to the castle, where he would sing for the king. One morning, however, he felt a power coming over him. He could hardly move. He felt almost paralyzed. A strange force. He heard a knock on the door. He realized who it was. But it was almost in a fog. He couldn't move. He wanted to yell out, "Wait, wait, don't go. I'm coming," but he couldn't leave. He was impaled on the bed. He didn't know what overcame him, what strange force overcame him. The knocks were louder and louder, harder and harder. No one answered. The king's messengers didn't know what to do. They turned and they left, and he could not move from his bed. He came back out, the young shepherd boy. The king was very disappointed. Later that day, the young lad managed to pull himself out of bed. Embarrassed, broken, he didn't know what to do, where to go. He could not visit the king. He could not sing in front of the king. He took a walk where he was seen by the king's messengers. They approached him. "Where were you?" He hesitated. He didn't know what to say. He couldn't say, "I was impaled." He couldn't say, "I was paralyzed." What could he say? And they were very upset. They took him to the court, and they listened, but he couldn't say. So they told him that if you can't appear in front of the king and you can't sing in front of the king upon demand, then you must go into a prison. And he was thrown into a small, dark room somewhere in the middle of the town, far away from the castle. He spent endless days and months, perhaps even years there, depressed and hopeless. He no longer sang. He was silent. There was a small window in his room. Sometimes he could look out onto the town square. And one day he heard the sound of hoofbeats, of drums. There was excitement in the air. He could see it from the small window. He began to see an entourage. He began to understand that this was a royal procession. Remembering what his life used to be like, he began to cry. What did I give up? He remembered the morning that he could not awaken, pull himself out of bed, sing for the king, and the feeling of paralysis that overcame him. At that moment he said, "No, I will never permit this feeling to imprison me again." And just the sight and the sound of the horses and the entourage through his small window inspired him to start singing. I can sing. I have the ability to sing as before. I have never lost the power of song. he began to sing the song of his soul. In moments he was lost, enraptured in the melody. After all this time, he felt free again, himself again, alive again. No one has to hear me, he said to himself. Even though I'm imprisoned, I am now a free man. But someone did hear him, for through the noise and the commotion, the hoofbeats of 1,000 horses, the beating of drums, somehow the king, who was within the entourage, heard a voice, heard a song. Through all the commotion, a voice he had once known and loved. Where is that voice coming from? I know it. He sent his messengers to search, and house to house they searched until they came upon the shepherd boy. He was brought in front of the king. The king recognized him immediately. I missed your voice so. Please sing for me. And the young man began to sing for the king as he sang many years ago. This is our fable. This program is about a song that resides in each of us. It's a soul song, because the neshama has no bars. It can never be imprisoned. When we touch a part of our internal center, we are transformed, regardless of our situation in life, regardless of our personal histories, regardless of what we've been through. When we experience soulfulness, we experience a song of freedom from the prison of anxiety, of sadness, of fears, of runaway thoughts, of all the emotions that are so painful to us, whether they are regrets or anger. In this program, as in the fable, we experience this connection with our eternal side through soul song, a guided imagery experience that accompanies each of the 4 programs you will learn. And you will learn about individuals whose lives were transformed by soulfulness. About a young woman, Sarah, whose life was tormented by fears that developed in her younger years after experiencing death. You will experience Chaim, a young boy who was abused and had taken to abusing others and could no longer help himself, and how his life was transformed. And about couples on the verge of marriages that were ending, who were able to turn their lives around after decades of conflict. Soulfulness is our ability to tap into an extraordinary power that resides at the center of each of us, that Hashem has placed within us. In the morning, when a man puts on his tefillin, he says, HaNeshama Shebamochi, the neshama, the soul in my mind. And when we daven in the morning, we say, HaNeshama Shenasata Bi Tohorahi. Our neshama is within us. We are the vessel that contains the neshama that Hashem gives us. It represents extraordinary koach, connecting Shemayim and Aretz, heaven and earth. Our physical being to our eternal portion, Ba'olam haba. The elder of Kelm, who lived many years ago, turn of the 19th century, asked the question, why does a baby smile? He answered, a baby smiles because that's how Hashem made him. A smiling baby radiates its neshama, because that element of love is eternal. It exists within us. It's given to us at birth, and it has the ability to transform every area of our lives. Think of your immune system. It's continuously repairing your body, keeping your body in physical perfection. And neshama is the immune system of your being. It's always working from within, but it receives its nurturance from above. There are some people I've met who have said, I've been in this too long. I've become a prisoner of my anxieties, my fears. It's a life sentence. I don't know how to get out of it. I don't know how to escape it. I want to give you a mashal. I want to give you another fable about a bird and a snake. There was once a scientist who was exploring the behavior of a snake and a bird. Everyone knew that in the jungle rainforest, the snake was the predator and the bird was the prey. But no one knew how the snake got to the bird, because the snake slithered along the ground of the rainforest jungle, and the bird lived in the canopy at the top, very peak of the jungle in its trees. And this scientist spent days, weeks, maybe months, trying to answer this puzzling mystery. How did the snake get to the bird? And one day, he saw the snake suddenly stop in its tracks and picks up its head and starts to shake violently and change colors and stick out its fangs, doing almost a dance. And the scientist looks up in the tree, and sure enough, there's the bird. And he's kind of sinking away in the canopy of the jungle. And he's singing and he's singing, but after a while, the snake that is doing its dance on the ground attracts the bird. The bird sees the snake and starts looking at the snake, and he's staring at the snake. And he can't take his eyes off the snake, and soon the bird stops singing, and soon the bird stops moving, and soon the bird begins to shake and shudder and begins to fall lifeless out of the tree into the open jaws of the snake. Now, if I could speak to the bird, I would say, "Hey, bird, why don't you fly? You have wings." But the reality is the bird doesn't have wings, because Hashem made the bird to be food for the snake. It's part of nature, teva. But you and I, we are not the bird. We're Tselem Elokim. We have a neshama. We're beyond time, beyond space. This part of us, Chelek Mimal, that Hashem gives us, we're never entrapped. We're always given the ability to be free, to fly, to be a true bird. And you will learn in this program that even though you may have come to define yourself by the struggles you've been through, none of these struggles are beyond your ability to overcome them. You will find the ability to sing, to move beyond the prison bars of those challenges you have faced throughout your life. Let me speak a little bit about the program and what you could be hearing. Each of the 4 programs that you will learn deals with life struggles and how to overcome them. The first is learning to quiet your negative thoughts and feelings and runaway mind. The second is how to calm your anxieties and fears. The third is how to heal old wounds and painful moments. And the final is how to lift yourself over sad and lonely feelings. Each of the programs you'll be hearing contains, first and foremost, a soul song, which is at the heart of the program. The soul song is a guided imagery designed to actually enhance your understanding of how to experience the neshama that's within you, how to lead a neshama-centered life, and enable you to overcome the challenge that you're facing. In each soul song, you'll be experiencing your own inner beauty and life-altering insights and the ability to develop strategies that affect every moment of your life. These are programs you can listen to and practice every day. They will lift your life, they will inspire you and others, and they will enable you to be closer to those you love, to Hashem, to be free of stresses and anxieties and fears and worries that plague so many of our lives. So I wish you much success as you learn to lead a life of soulfulness. Our first workshop is entitled Quieting My Troubled Thoughts and Feelings. So whenever you're ready, we can begin with our first experience with the beauty of soulfulness.